Even the best graphic designers on the planet, whether they have printing experience or not, sometimes get confused with the whole aspect of what it means to have a file with bleed. I'd say about 60% of the files I get sent to me to be printed don't have their bleed margins set correctly. So I'm going to explain it really easy for you. So basically, what bleed means that we're printing the document larger than it really needs to be so we could cut it down to the proper final size. And the reason for that, let me go over here. Right here, a traditional printer, if you have a printer at home, will have a border usually, a white border on the outside they call a margin. And it's an area that it won't allow to print. If you do print it all the way to the edge like this, we usually use what's called bleeding and cutting. The reason for that is sometimes paper shifts. It's like when you have a stack of papers, say you put 100 sheets in, 500 sheets, whatever it is, they're not 100% accurate. So even if you print to the edge, if one paper is shifted just a millimeter this way or just a millimeter up, millimeter down, whatever it is, there's going to be a strange little white line or a white border on one of the sides here. So to avoid that, you print bigger than you need and then you cut down to the final size. And you cut it down with what's called a stack cutter. Some of them are going to be slightly aligned off, and they're not going to be 100% perfect, especially if you're trying to cut on the edge of where ink is and isn't. You're going to get a little white border. This is a commercial stack cutter, so you can load like thousands of sheets of paper, and it cuts them all at once. So in case there's a micro shift, that's what the bleed is for. And a lot of times you get a document from a company that looks like this, as a template, and they say he bleed area, trim area, safe area. That's because in case there's a micro shift, this final trim area that is cut down to after the bleed, they want to keep all your important text in a safe area. So I'm going to go through how to set up these documents. It's super easy. So here it is. We're just going to create a basic business card size, 3.5 by 2. Everyone knows that. You always want your resolution to be at least 300 dpi. That is a standard in commercial printing. It's a standard resolution, and so is used in CMYK color. CMYK color is what most commercial printers use as far as the color separation and how they interpret and process the colors from digital to print. RGB color is good for web graphics, web design, because it uses RGB graphics and whatnot. And if you send an RGB color file to a printer, there's a good chance they're going to convert it to CMYK color, which is cool, but just be advised that you might have some slight variances in color if you're picky about the color output and how much it translates from monitor to print. So here we go. 300 dpi, CMYK, 3.5 by 2. That is a standard business card. So here it is. What I'm going to do first is I'm just creating these guidelines to show you the final trim size. So here's your final trim size of a document. This is what you're going to get handed after everything is printed, but this is not what you want to design on. So I always start like this. So I make my guidelines. This is my final output, right? So then I need to go to my canvas size. I need to make it bigger. A standard printer uses a 1/8 inch bleed. That is standard, but that means 1/8 inch on each side. So 1/8 inch plus 1/8 inch is 2/8. 2/8 is 1/4. Everyone knows 1/4 is 0.25 or a quarter, just like how it works with money. So what we want to do is we want to add a 1/4 inch to the width and the height, because the quarter is 2 1/8 and 2 1/8. Hope that math makes sense. So here it is, 75, 2.25, and what we're left with is, boom, see that area back there? That is called your bleed. So what I'm going to do is show you how it works in an application. Let's just grab Big Ron. This was a comic shop. I did I don't think it exists anymore, but right here. So if you look, this right here is our final trim size. This is 3.5 by 2, right? And then this is the bleed. See that, how that works? So everything here, it's all going to be cut off after it's printed. So your final print size is going to be that when it's finally printed. But the file you want to submit to the printer is this right here. This is a bleed. If your graphic just ends right here and you submit it like here's my final trim size, this is the size of the document, but I'm adding bleed. So on the actual document, I'm going to add white on the border, what's going to happen is when it gets cut, there's going to be micro shifts. You might get a slight little white line on this side, or a slight white line on this side, or this side, or this side. You don't know. So you always want to bring all the background stuff completely to the edge of your bleed. And then this is called the trim. And then any important text you usually want to keep in about 1/8 inch as well, in case there's some shifting that goes the other direction. So say this area right here, boom. Sometimes I would do something like this, and I will just make a second margin, or a second guide, if you will, and make sure that all my important text is inside that area. So that's pretty much bleed. That's what it means. So next time you go to design something, start off with your final trim, set your guidelines around it, increase the actual canvas size, and so you have your bleeds, and make sure all your background, colors, design, whatever, goes fully extended out so it's cut without any strange little lines. Hopefully that helped, and yeah, check me out. Peace.